Hi, I'm Zoe McEwen, course consultant with the UK Academy of Wedding and Event Planning. We do online training and courses for students that want to get into the wedding industry. And today we're going to chat with one of our students, Jasmine Mills. Hi, Jasmine.
Hi,
Thank you for joining us.
of
So
course.
we're just going to chat a bit about why you did the course, how you're getting on with it, and what you hope to do in the future. So what did you do before? What was your career or jobs before you started with the academy?
I've always been creative. First time I went to college, I did fine art and photography. But my parents didn't think that was there was much of a chance of a job at the end of that. And so for a few years, I was a midwife, and I worked here in London at the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital. But I was never really settled there. I enjoyed many aspects of it, such as caring for women, caring for families, but it still didn't quite feel right. So I took a break and went completely on the opposite end of the spectrum and ended up working in private equity. I just wanted an office job, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, which is actually where I got my first taste of sort of event experience. I helped to organise some of our investor days and various things like that. And as time went on, I realised more and more what I wanted out of my career was mostly to have my own company, to be my own boss.
Yeah.
But I'd never really known what industry I wanted that to be in.
Hmm.
I knew I wanted it to be quite practical, but also quite creative. And
Yeah,
unfortunately,
I think that's quite common.
yeah,
that
the
that people just feel like they want to start their business, not exactly sure what it is, but they've got lots of different skills, which you clearly have.
yeah, absolutely. And the private equity company sadly had to make some redundancies, of which I was one. And really, it was my fiance that pushed me to sort of take it as an opportunity to try and take the plunge and do something that's my own. So that's where we went.
Yeah, and often that is the thing, isn't it? It's turning a situation where you weren't expecting to be made redundant into something that actually could be an opportunity for you now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I very stereotypically, I suppose, stumbled across the wedding industry by virtue of planning our own wedding, which I know happens with a lot of women.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. It seemed to incorporate all the things I loved, lots of creativity, lots of independence if you want it, but also quite a strong practical field as well.
Yeah, definitely. That again is quite a common story that people just want a complete change. Um, and the same with me when I was thinking about it, sort of what was important to me, the things that I liked, and wedding planning matched with a lot of those things that I thought that my new career should be. And if you're going to make a big change, you want to make the right change. um,
Yeah.
so what made you choose an online course?
So after I got made redundant, I decided that to give myself more flexibility to look into a new career and
Mhm.
train for a new career, I would go freelance, and I became a virtual assistant, which I still am, which is something that's actually already huge in America and is coming over more and more here with
Yeah.
a lot of companies who need help but don't actually need a member of staff employed or someone in the office. So doing an online course just seemed to fit with that flexibility, and I can juggle the two very easily. And it worked in that way that you can fit it in around a lot of other stuff rather than
Yeah.
committing to going, into a classroom every day.
So you're already used to working at home and sorting out your time and organizing yourself in that way anyway, because
Yeah,
through the job you have to be self-motivated. So you're already learning some of those skills, and the course does allow you, as you say, to fit in and match with all of that because it's studied online and it's self-paced.
yeah.
So when do you study? When do you fit it in?
So my days tend to vary day to day. I always thought when I started working from home, the hardest thing was going to be to get up in the mornings and actually be at my computer for a reasonable time.
Yeah.
I've actually found that the hardest thing is to close it down at the end of the day. It's so
Yeah.
easy to sit and keep going, and especially if you've just got, another hour of work or something to do. So I try and limit myself to be at my desk for 8:30 and leave at 5:30 and not do anything and fit it in. So during that course of the day, I'll probably have about 4 hours worth of virtual assistant work, which will change throughout the course of every day as to when I need to work, and I just have 2 screens up and I sort of dip in and out as and when I need to.
Okay, so that you've already found that flexibility and working from home is something that you enjoy and that's going to work for you.
Absolutely, yeah.
So then you've been starting to sort of talk about things that you want to go on to do. So you would obviously like to be a wedding planner, but you've got other plans as well. What sort of plans, what have you found that you've enjoyed from the course and you want to go on to do?
Well, I think the main thing I found from the course is a love for the wedding industry as a whole. I really enjoy everything I've come across in the wedding industry, and it just ticks so many boxes for me personally.
Yeah.
We have decided, my fiance and I are looking into opening a wedding stationery company, as well as me planning. That comes from my personal love of creating stationery, and they always say that, what is the phrase? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
When planning our own wedding, I really struggled to find modern designed, beautifully printed, sort of letterpress style printed invitations. Yeah. I mean, there's a handful of small companies that do them, but I struggled to find some. And I was looking at making them myself, and I just didn't have the skills or the necessity or the equipment that I needed at that time. And my fiance Ted has for some time been thinking that he would like also to have his own company and to have something that he can invest in. So we're sort of he's the brains behind everything. He knows company figures in and out and all of that sort of thing, and I like to be creative. So we thought this was quite a nice way for us to start something together, and build on that within the wedding industry, because I know whilst I can, even if I was going directly into planning, whilst I am very good at the creative side and the organizational side, when it comes to the business side, when it comes to look at your bottom lines and your projections and managing all of that, I don't have the experience. So I'm hoping it's going to work quite well with him. And the idea is that once we get that up and going, in the background, I'll be slowly building up my portfolio of planning clients and sort of taking.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I think if you have something like that, something that you struggle to find as a bride yourself, you're already finding that there's a niche there for you.
Yeah.
So through, as you said, through not being able to find it yourself, you're thinking, actually, so I could do this. I can fill this gap in the market.
Yeah.
And so just be clear and start thinking and keep that in your mind now and start writing down some of the reasons and the things that you couldn't find and what you were looking for and how it matched with pricing and trends and how you're going to keep on top of all of that to make sure it works. As well as the practicalities of actually making the stationery, making sure it's the right quality for the right price and all of that kind of thing. And then obviously you've got the next level of getting your name out there and the sales pitches for that. And then once you get a little bit of that of a market going, it is a great place to then offer the extra services. You're going to have direct contact with brides. They'll be coming to you and at quite a good stage in the wedding, probably in the preparations. So you can add on certainly like on the day coordination and things like that as for them. Oh,
sorry.
Someone joined us.
He's been pestering at my feet. This is my office buddy.
Oh, everyone needs one of those, definitely, if you're going to work from home. It can be very quiet, can't it? So I think it's good. It's good to diversify. It's good to have more skills and work like that. So what kind of stationery is it? How are you going to get it made?
So in fact, last week we went and did a letterpress course at St Bride's Foundation here in London. And I've always loved letterpress. My father is in the book industry, and he does a little bit of publishing himself as well. And he's always been big into fonts and paper and layout and beautifully printed things.
Okay.
I think that's definitely what sparked my own personal interest in it. So we've done a course recently in letterpress, and we're probably going to do some further courses just to really hone our skills. And then I guess a lot of it will probably be a case of trial and error to get the that we want and develop our designs and see what works and what doesn't work.
Definitely. And with your creative background, and the skills that you've already got from all of your jobs and things you've tried, plus, as you say, your family. And I think family is a really good one. I hear that is quite, again, something I hear from people say, oh, my dad was a photographer, is really keen on photography, or my mum was a florist and I've been around flowers all my life. And then suddenly people come back to them and think, that was there all the time, that connection, and I just need to move it into the thing that I enjoy, the part that I enjoy from that.
Yeah.
And you probably already always loved stationery and just never sort of connected with it, but matching the creativity and the design work, the art that you can do to weddings. Obviously there's a lot of stationery as well, isn't there? It wouldn't just be invitations, you'd be doing other things.
Yeah, so the idea would be to be sort of semi-bespoke, so to have designs that we but everything from baby showers to parties, various bits like that, but the focus very much on weddings. And I've loved during the course actually learning so much more than I ever thought possible about the wedding industry. I have to say, slightly naively, when I started it, I thought, oh, this is going to be great, we just throw a few pretty things together, it's going to be, and actually it's this wonderful whole industry, and there's so much in it, and it's really inspired me. So I definitely want to push my focus still within the wedding industry, but definitely events otherwise as well will creep in. I think that's a natural progression.
Yeah, I mean, I think that events and design is really growing, and I think people are wanting more interesting things, more bespoke, more designed and personalized things, even for for a conference or for a name badge. People are just wanting that little bit more now from it, a little bit more excitement, a little bit more design and thought that's gone into it to match, because a lot of things are very themed. As I say, even just a team building event can be very themed, and a company can pay for the whole package. And there, once you start, I think you'll see, as you said, from sort of trial and error, but you'll see how it can grow, and other things that you can offer. And once you've offered them to one person, then you've got your pictures, and you can say, well, we've done this before, we could do something like this for you, and just see how it goes. The other thing that's good, obviously, for you is that you have got your work in the background, and you can be a little bit flexible about this, so you can dip into the industry slowly. How it works. You don't have to make a big leap and leaving a job, and that's really good if you can find or have a job that's like that allows you to transfer slowly into the new career. That's really good.
Yeah, that's been a huge help in terms of having that level of flexibility career wise. And I mean, the idea is that as the stationery company and planning picks up, I will slowly peter down what I'm doing elsewhere to ideally be doing the sort of wedding things full time. But it has been a huge help, and it's certainly something that I would actually recommend to anyone looking to make a change. I think in the UK, I mean, like I said, in the States, they're a bit more ahead of the game, but in the UK, a lot of companies are coming around to the fact that offering people flexibility and the ability to work remotely is a real bonus for them as well. And it's, there are a lot of people that are in a similar situation to me who want to make that change, but think, how am I going to fit this in around a full-time job, kids, this, that, and the other. And I think it's something to look at, because there are a lot of companies that need even not particularly skilled help, that you can do remotely, and it gives you that little bit more confidence and that backbone of a salary to kind of go and
I think you're right. I think that is a good tip. Sometimes there needs to be something in between where it's difficult to leave the job that you've got because of the finances, but you really need to start moving across, otherwise you're not going to make a success of the new career. And so I think it's a good tip to look for something that's more flexible in between, that covers that time for you. And as you say, there are lots of different ways of doing that. So you mentioned there about America. So are you kind of mentioned that maybe you might move to America?
Yes, we're trying. It's very much down to the visas. And we're going through that process at the moment. my fiance and I love the States. I almost moved to the States, to New York, before we even met, and so did he.
Okay.
And we love the same area. And we're just looking for slight. I mean, we're very lucky. We're in a nice area. We're in London. We're very lucky here. But I think we're just looking for a bit of a lifestyle change.
Mhm.
Especially, we're getting married in May. We'll probably be looking at having children after that, and we just are looking at what do we actually want out of our lifestyle, and we feel we're looking at the New England area that there's a lot more on offer for what we want out there, and it's certainly in terms of the wedding industry, it is
Yeah.
a huge industry in the States. It's almost unbelievable. We've been doing our market research for our business plan, and it's staggering.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right. The America leads the way, and you know, we are growing, and eventually, hopefully, it will be more like that here. But are you finding that you're so like thinking for the trends and fashions a bit more in America now then, or do you see
Yeah,
overlap?
it's funny how we always consider ourselves very similar, but actually there are quite a lot of differences when it comes to trends and fashions and what's going on over there.
Mm.
I'm finding in my head, as I'm starting to do our designs, I'm thinking obviously tailoring my needs to the market. Things like bridal showers with beautiful invites are a big thing out there, whereas in the UK we probably wouldn't create an invitation for the hen do. So
But we should.
which we should.
You can
um,
start. You can start that trend. You can be that
yeah.
person that says, I can do fabulous hen do invites. That in itself is a great idea and some PR, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one difference I've noticed is that the Americans really will go all in with a trend or a theme. So, you know, if I was looking at some case studies from some American planners who haven't got my list in front of me who I was looking at, and I remember reading one case study of a couple who live in a town where apples are grown and apples are very important to them. And so they ended up theming their whole wedding around the idea of autumn apples, and
Mhm.
you know, everything from the very first save the date right through to all the catering and the
Yeah.
design will follow that. And I think they will really commit to a theme and
Yeah.
shop around and look for things that match that.
Yeah. So
Rather than
you've got to really keep on that, keep on the trends and the themes and be aware of what they are. Do you think there's a market for English traditions and themes in America?
Yes, I mean we probably go to the States at least once a year, and the one thing I will say, and I'm probably a bit biased here, is they love all things English.
Hmm.
They, I'm being very broad and stereotypical here, but they seem to enjoy the history of the UK, and whenever we're over there, people want to talk to us about the history of England, and I think they
Mm.
feel it's got a sort of slightly longer heritage, which it has.
Mm.
And I think that could be a real selling point. That's certainly something that we want to play off in our marketing out there if we do end up out.
Yeah. Because
Uh,
obviously you've got that background, that English, you're going to have your own wedding with your own stationery and your own pictures, which is going to be a great start for you. And then sort of going across and selling, you know, romantic English country garden weddings
yeah,
um, as a brand. I mean, it wouldn't be everything that you do, but it
yeah,
might be a section of what you do. Could be again some really good PR for you when you arrive there. But at the moment, you're working down two routes, aren't you? So because you're not obviously sure about the American move, but it's quite exciting, and as you've said, it's nice that you are moving to a country where the industry is flourishing.
yeah. It's
So
very exciting actually, looking at all the, it's very inspiring looking at all the American sort of companies. I've certainly found that, you know, when I was planning more to stay in the UK, and there were plenty of wonderfully inspiring planners and wedding companies in the UK, but in the States, it is just a bit sort of, whew, it's amazing. And I find it very inspiring to look over there and see what they've done with the industry. And I
yeah,
do hope that continues to travel more and more to the UK, because I think it's a wonderful celebratory industry. It's so exciting, and it's a lovely thing. So I hope it continues to expand here.
I think it will. I think as we get more planners and more really good planners, so the industry will grow and people will see the benefit. It's like anything, they've got to kind of learn slowly that it's good, it's a good idea, and it can help and be very beneficial, and lose some of the fear of perhaps having somebody else help you with plan your wedding, that sometimes, or the financial, you know, people do worry about the financial side of wedding planners, but actually, you know, that can be incorporated very simply with some of the discounts and the savings that you might make along the way by them knowing the right people and, you know, putting you in touch with good suppliers.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's something, it's probably, when it comes to the planning side of things, something that I've worried about the most is selling yourself as a service. It definitely takes a little bit more than selling a product that you can show somebody and say, this is exactly what you're getting for your money. But funnily enough, I'm going through module 7 at the moment, which is all about how to sell yourself as a service. And I found some great tips in that module in terms of looking at yourself and pointing out, you know, what benefits you can have, not just, you know, sort of hovering on the background and going, oh, well, I could do this, you know, really putting yourself out there as, you know, this is why you should have me. This is because I can do this. And it's something that I was always a bit timid about. I'm not very good at sort of sitting down and selling myself. I sort of end up sitting down. I'm like,
you're at the beginning, you're not supposed to, maybe, you know, the course is there to teach you that confidence, and when you get the knowledge and you feel like, actually, I'm getting this, I do understand, I can see how this fits and works, I know some of the rules and the things to do, then your confidence grows and you think, oh, I can sit there and say with a little bit of authority, obviously you haven't planned lots of weddings, but with a little bit of authority, actually I do know what I'm talking about. And those people that you'll be talking to, the good and the bad of this is that they won't have planned a wedding before, generally. So it'll be their first time. So you are going to be more of an expert than they are. And once you keep that within you and understand that you will be more of an expert than they are, I think that helps. And once you get a few weddings done and organised, you know, you soon forget all of that as well. I think the other thing as well with having the stationery is that you have got initially something to hide behind. You know, you will have, and when you're showing them your stationery, they'll see your personality, they'll see who you are, they'll get a feel for a connection if there is one, and that's what then sells you and your extra services on. And because of the stationery, your confidence will be allowed to grow in an easier fashion than if it's literally just you selling yourself as a wedding in the beginning.
I have to say, when we made the decision to pursue the stationery company, there was a bit of me that went, whew, okay, now I can go into it, you know, and ease my way into it more slowly, rather than that sort of, I think it's probably very easy to feel a pressure to suddenly go, oh my goodness, now I'm qualified, I've got to have clients, I've got to do this immediately. And I think that's probably, well, certainly for me, that seems quite terrifying. So it's nicer to know that, you know, even if I got an odd client here and I can slowly build up my portfolio and slowly build up my confidence, that will be really helpful to me as a long-term planner.
Yes, and I think that's a really good way to do it. The course is there obviously to teach you and for you to learn some of the sort of tricks of the trade and some tips and advice and pick up some details, but really it's there for you to explore, see the things that you like, see the things that you don't like. The industry, as you said, is huge. There's lots of different areas, and see where you fit in it, and just take your time to see where you fit in it. The other thing is, obviously, weddings don't happen overnight. So even if you get your first job relatively quickly or at the beginning of the course, you know, it might take 6 months, a year before you get those pictures and those testimonials back. So the wedding cycle is a little bit slower, which can help. But also it just means that you you can't rush it so much. You know, your first year is going to be a little bit slower, but if you've got something else in the background, maybe a hire business, if you're hiring items out, that kind of thing, or doing chair covers, if you maybe doing some floristry work on the side, if you've got another angle to it, that does help to sort of fill that time for you.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I found quite helpful is one of my bridesmaids to be is getting married herself next year. So I'm helping her plan. And I'm basically leaping on any birthday or event of my friends at all and going, let me plan it, let me plan it. And just offering my services for free, partly to build a portfolio, but also just to have some real life experience with friends who are forgiving, who you know, you can learn your mistakes with. So they're all pretty sick of me. Lots of people saying to me, I don't need a full party for my, you know, 29th birthday. It's not that important. And I'm going, no, you need full stationery.
Everything.
Yes.
But I think you're right. Sometimes people think, oh, you know, I've never planned anything before, or you know, I need to find some work experience. All of those things you've talked about are really valid, and that's what I did in the beginning. The other thing with helping friends and families, you can really ask them. You can really say, is that what you want? Was that helpful? Is this too much? You know, you really can, and they'll tell you, and they'll be honest. Obviously, there's no fee involved usually, so they're just paying for the costs if that's what it is. But you really still learn loads. I learned lots just by doing that, and sometimes it feels worse. It actually feels better when you get a real client than it does when you're helping your friends and family. The pressure's slightly less, strangely. Because you know, you want to get it right still, but when it's your friends and family and you know they're not paying and you're sort of starting out, you're trying to make a connection with them on a different level because you are related or close. Whereas when it's a client, you know, somebody that is paying for the service, then it's easier to get that business relationship. So, you know,
I think that's true.
It's 50-50, but definitely you're right. Friends and family as much as you can. Take pictures, get testimonials, and just start building up that portfolio, because you know, you're going to need everything you can to show clients things that you've done, and just a little bit of experience to talk about, because in the beginning they might say, you know, oh, how many weddings have you planned? And you'll be like, oh, you know, how do I answer that? But you can talk your way around it by the other things that you have done. And if you've literally done nothing, then that's tricky, and you need to be honest with people. But if you can put yourself out there, if volunteering and charities, things like that, then it really does help just to give you something to chat about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if I was going down the purely planning route and not doing the stationery company, something I certainly would have been asking you about is work experience. I found from my other careers that there is really nothing like going out there and building experience in the real world, and especially when you're new at something. And even then, you know, if you haven't planned anything yourself, you can say, no, but I've done this. And, you know, I think as much when you're starting out something, you can add.
Yeah, the two things hand in hand are perfect. Some experience and some kind of a qualification or a course. And then as a bonus, you get, you know, with the Academy, you get your tutor who you can ask questions of throughout, and stuff as well, who's there to support you. But it sounds like you've taken it in a very sort of sensible path, but also still just seeing where it leads you, which is nice too. You're not being too rigid about your future. Obviously you've got to be a bit flexible because you're not sure where you're going to be and where you're going to end up, but that's quite exciting when you're making these career changes and moves, and you're getting married, so there's a whole new chapter coming up for you as well. So you're managing to fit in planning the wedding, obviously.
Yes, I have to say, there is a planner. So we're getting married down in Somerset where my parents live, and there is an in-house planner there who is very good, and you can do as much yourself for as little as you want. They have 2 requests, which is they do their own candles and their own vases, and that's because it's a grade 1 listed property, and they've had some disasters in the past with people bringing their own stuff. But she is wonderful, and it's actually been really nice to be doing this course and working with a real life wedding planner for my own wedding, and seeing how she works and how she presents things. She's actually been wonderful. She's been a real...
Oh, that's good. That's really good. That really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm really pleased. Thank you for talking to us today, Jasmine.
Very
Sorry, I don't want to sort of, I feel like we could talk and talk. And I've taken up enough of your time. It's been really useful, and I think it'll be really useful for other people just to see different approaches for it. You know, you don't have to start the course and think, I'm going to be a wedding planner, and in 6 months' time, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, you can be much more flexible and fluid about it, and the course, I think, you know, allows that. So did you have any questions for me? If you
No, I think
will ask.
I generally harass you enough on through the course portal.
No, not at all. No, always ask, always keep in touch. The more communication there is, the more you'll learn, but also the more I learn about the students and what they need and what they want. So that helps us with the courses too.
Yeah, no, it's been wonderful.
Okay, well, thank you so much for talking to me, and keep in touch. Let us know if you do move to America. Obviously, you can just take the course with you and carry on over there.
Perfect.
All right, have a good day. Thanks very much, Jasmine.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.